Welcome to our deep dive on inheritance windfalls and the 3 costly mistakes early retirees make. We will move step by step through rules, strategies, and pitfalls so you can turn a once-in-a-lifetime event into durable wealth. Let's begin by setting expectations and then move into the critical 10-year rule that governs most inherited retirement accounts. Here is our agenda. First, we will clarify the 10-year distribution rule for inherited accounts. Next, we will tackle mistake number 1 regarding Roth versus traditional IRA timing. Then, we will address mistake number 2 around advice quality. After that, we will unpack mistake number 3 involving longevity and healthcare. We will also compare active and passive wealth paths, share step-by-step action plans, and test your understanding with a couple of quick quizzes. Let's transition to a brief but important disclaimer before we dive in. This video is educational and not personalized tax, legal, or investment advice. Your situation may differ substantially based on your age, beneficiary type, account mix, state of residence, and risk tolerance. Before implementing any strategy, consult a fee-only, fiduciary advisor, and a CPA who specialize in inherited retirement assets. With that established, let's continue to the opportunity and the rules you must navigate. Inheriting a multi-million-dollar retirement portfolio can compress decades of saving into a single moment. However, sustaining that wealth for a multi-decade early retirement requires disciplined planning. As we proceed, we will prioritize tax rules, sequence of returns resilience, and healthcare safeguards. Now let's clarify the 10-year rule that sets your ultimate deadline. Most non-spouse beneficiaries of inherited retirement accounts have to distribute the full balance within 10 years. For inherited Roth IRAs, qualified distributions are tax-free, so preserving the account to maximize compounding can be highly advantageous. For inherited traditional IRAs, you should plan distributions carefully across years 1 through 10 to avoid being pushed into higher tax brackets or incurring Medicare-related surcharges. Failing to plan increases your tax drag and may create penalties if you miss the required deadline. With the clock in mind, let's transition to the first big mistake. The first mistake is liquidating an inherited Roth IRA too early. Because qualified Roth distributions are tax-free, leaving assets invested longer typically increases the after-tax value of your inheritance. The better approach is to delay Roth distributions until late in the 10-year window, unless you absolutely need cash now. In contrast, with an inherited traditional IRA, pre-tax dollars should usually be withdrawn in planned increments across the 10-year period. This helps you avoid a sudden jump in taxable income and prevents losing years of growth to taxes. If you do need cash, consider limiting Roth withdrawals to the smallest amount possible and preserve the majority for continued compounding. Now let's translate this into a concrete action plan. Here are the steps. First, inventory your accounts by type. Next, build a 10-year income forecast that includes all sources of income. Then, map tax brackets, the net investment income tax, and Medicare IRMAA thresholds relevant to your situation. After that, plan traditional IRA withdrawals in years where your income is otherwise low to keep your marginal rates favorable. Meanwhile, delay Roth IRA distributions toward the end of the 10-year window when possible. Finally, reassess each year, since both markets and your income trajectory will evolve. Now that you have a plan outlined, let's test your understanding with a quick quiz. Question: for an inherited Roth IRA, what is generally the optimal distribution approach over the 10-year window? Options are A. Distribute the entire balance immediately to reinvest elsewhere. B. Distribute evenly each year to stay disciplined. C. Delay most distributions until late in the 10-year period to maximize tax-free compounding. D. Convert the Roth to a traditional IRA to defer taxes. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is C. Delaying Roth distributions extends the period of tax-free compounding. Distributing everything immediately, or even spacing it out evenly, can reduce the compounding runway. Converting a Roth to a traditional IRA is not an available or sensible approach. The Roth is already in its most tax-advantaged form. Now let's move to the second major mistake. Advice quality. The second mistake is relying on someone whose incentives are misaligned with your best interests. Before you speak with anyone pitching products, consult an independent, fee-only CPA who specializes in inherited retirement assets. A tax strategy should come first and should dictate your investment strategy. This sequence reduces the risk of buying high-fee products or structures that do not match your tax reality. With the right advice framework in place, we can now compare the two main wealth approaches that often divide inheritors. On the left, active wealth through leveraged real estate offers potentially higher returns but requires substantial ongoing effort. You face operational challenges like repairs, tenant turnover, and financing risk, and you may be concentrated in a local market. On the right, passive wealth through diversified portfolios of stocks, bonds, and REITs demands far less time, provides daily liquidity, and can spread risk across sectors and geographies. Choose based on your primary goal, maximizing returns, or maximizing your ability to live an unencumbered early retirement. Next, let's visualize a decision workflow for getting from inheritance to a coherent strategy. This sequence diagram illustrates the operational flow. The inheritor first consults a CPA to build a tax map. The CPA returns a 10-year withdrawal schedule for the traditional IRA and a delayed distribution plan for the Roth IRA. Next, the inheritor works with a fiduciary advisor to craft an investment policy statement and the asset allocation and rebalancing plan that sits on top of the tax plan. Then, instructions go to the custodian to execute distributions and investments. Finally, each year includes a review, adjustments as needed, and documentation to keep the plan aligned with changing conditions. Now, let's equip you with a simple Markdown toolkit for planning. This section provides a simple planning toolkit using Markdown. The checklist highlights where to look each year, including brackets, surcharges, and harvesting windows. The withdrawal sketch offers an illustrative sequence to front-load traditional IRA withdrawals when income is lower and delay Roth distributions until near the deadline. The mini investment policy statement outlines long-horizon goals, a sample allocation, a fee cap, and a rebalancing approach. With planning tools in hand, let's examine the math of safe withdrawal rates over long retirements. This table shows how different withdrawal rates translate into annual spending. At 4%, $3 million yields $120,000 per year. At 3%, the annual spend drops to $90,000, which is more conservative for a 50-year retirement. At 2.8%, the figure is $84,000, creating additional buffer against sequence of returns risk and healthcare shocks. With those figures in mind, let's address the third major mistake. The third mistake is underestimating both lifespan and healthcare costs. For retirements that may last 50 years, a 3% or lower withdrawal rate often makes sense. Before you leave your job or cut hours, verify your health insurance options and actual premiums. Build cash reserves and fixed income buffers to help weather market downturns and medical surprises. By planning conservatively, you stabilize spending and protect principals. Now, here's a concise healthcare action plan. Start by listing your current benefits and COBRA timelines. Then compare ACA marketplace plans, including HSA-eligible options and potential subsidies. Model premiums at different income levels, and plan for Medicare IRMAA considerations once you reach eligibility. Create a dedicated reserve for medical expenses and keep disability coverage as appropriate. Reassess each year during open enrollment to adjust to changing needs and prices. To visualize budget trade-offs, let's look at a pie chart allocation. This pie chart represents a potential budget split for an early retiree: 25% for housing, 20% for healthcare, 35% for general living expenses, 10% for discretionary wants, and 10% for taxes. The exact percentages will vary, but this visualization reminds you to give healthcare a substantial and explicit share. Now let's test your understanding of long-horizon spending and healthcare planning. Question: which approach best supports a 50-year early retirement from a $3 million portfolio? Options are A. Use a 4% withdrawal rate and self-insure healthcare risks. B. Target around 3% withdrawal rate and price health insurance before leaving work. C. Keep all funds in cash to avoid market risk. D. Maximize traditional IRA withdrawals in year 10 only. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is B. A roughly 3% withdrawal rate and advanced healthcare planning support a more durable 50-year retirement. Option A takes on too much spending and healthcare risk. Option C sacrifices long-term growth and inflation protection. Option D concentrates taxable income into a single year and can be very costly. With the core ideas cemented, let's highlight the key points. These are the key takeaways. Delay Roth distributions whenever reasonable to maximize tax-free compounding. Stage traditional IRA withdrawals thoughtfully across low-income years. Consult a fee-only CPA first. Use a lower withdrawal rate and plan for substantial healthcare costs. Finally, select active or passive strategies based on the life you want, not someone else's sales pitch. Next, we will quickly summarize and send you off with resources and a call to action. To summarize, an inheritance starts a hard 10-year clock. Act immediately to design a tax map. Preserve Roth compounding while smoothing traditional IRA taxes. Seek fiduciary and CPA guidance before any product discussions. Build a conservative spending plan that respects longevity and healthcare realities. Choose an investment approach that supports the freedom and lifestyle you truly want. Finally, let's close with a quick thank you and a call to action. Thank you for watching. If this helped you think more clearly about your inheritance strategy, please like the video, share it with someone who may need it, and subscribe for more deep dive planning content. In the comments, tell us your biggest concern about the 10-year rule and how you are balancing Roth preservation with traditional IRA tax planning.